Audiobook Academy. Book Summary. Moby Dick. By Herman Melville. Herman Melville wrote a story about a whale hunter who went insane in 1851 and published it as A Whale and the Madman. Moby Dick is the shortened version of The Whale, which was the original title. When he died 40 years later, it was out of print and a failure. However, it only began to gain notoriety in the latter half of the 20th century. The story's mastery was lauded by writers like William Faulkner. In Moby Dick, there are numerous biblical references. Call Me Ishmael is a reference to Abraham's illegitimate son, Ishmael, who was exiled from the tribe and left to perish in the desert with his Egyptian slave mother, only to be saved by God's hand. In one line, the reader learns that the narrator is hiding under an alias and that he, too, is an undesired son. Nantucket is the destination of his decision to pursue his fortune at sea. It is common for young men to work aboard whaling ships in order to earn a living by bringing in whale oil. In New Bedford, Ishmael sets off on his journey to Nantucket, where he is hoping to find a room at the inn. As the story unfolds, he is forced to bed share with a man whose dark skin, tough demeanor, and tattoos first terrify him. However, they end up becoming fast friends. When you get on the Pequod, you'll be working as a Polynesian harpooner. His name is Queequeg. He convinces Ishmael to join him because he is looking for a job. As soon as they join the ship, they learn that the new captain is a man named Ahab, named for an Israeli king who, because of his obsession with his wife, Jezebel, abandoned his people and God to worship other gods. As a new captain takes over the ship, he has no idea that his former ship was destroyed and his leg was also taken by the great white whale. Ishmael discovers a new way of life on board the ship. The men are a diverse group, and the labor is risky and exhausting. They come from all walks of life and from all corners of the globe. The crew learns Ahab's true intentions shortly after setting sail when he fastens a gold doubloon to the masthead, declaring that the first man to glimpse a white whale would receive the gold coin. Then, out of the ship's hull, a group of rough-looking men emerge, hired by Ahab to slay the white whale. Despite the prophecy's warning that he and his crew will not survive, Ahab continues to pester every ship they come across for information on the whale. The ship's carpenter makes a coffin for Queequeg when he falls ill and dies. When the ship is sunk by the whale and all the crew has perished, Ishmael, who had been thrown overboard earlier, uses the coffin as a life preserver. All boats and men are pulled into the water to their doom as the ship is attacked by Moby Dick, which causes a vortex when it sinks. Despite this, Ahab is pulled away by the whale to his death by the rope from the spear he hurled at the whale. Moby Dick and Ishmael are both rescued by the ship Rachel, another biblical name representing the wife of Jacob, Abraham's grandson, who is searching for their own men who were lost in an earlier battle with the huge white whale. In the early 1800s, a young man sets off from New England on a whaling ship in search of adventure. He simply answers, "Call me Ishmael," when asked for his full name. As a result of this, we may assume he and his family have a strained relationship. In New Bedford, he checks into a hotel. He had originally planned to set sail from Nantucket, but he was forced to stay a few days in New Bedford, Massachusetts, as he waited for a ship to transport him to Nantucket. As he travels around looking for a place to stay, an African-American church session preaches on the blackness of night. The Spratter Inn, owned by the appropriately named Peter Coffin, is the next stop for the nervous traveler. You begin to see yourself as a character in the inn. The clientele, the artwork, and the furnishings all have an oppressive, nautical feel about them. On the wall are weapons and tools, one of which has human hair connected to it. The bar is fashioned to the right whale's head. A harpooner will have to share a bed with Ishmael because there are no more rooms available. His decision is challenged when he hears that Queequeg is out selling shrunken heads. As he waits for his roommate, Ishmael spends some time observing the local males as they enter and exit the building. However, he eventually gets too exhausted to wait any longer and retires to his bed. His curiosity is aroused upon entering the room when he discovers a few odd belongings that belong to someone named Queequeg. When Queequeg eventually comes, these questions are answered. In addition to being intimidated by his large, dark appearance, Ishmael is also concerned about his numerous tattoos. Then, as he watches Queequeg pray to an idol, he becomes increasingly concerned. Queequeg's attempt to kill Ishmael with a tomahawk is the scariest moment of the film. When Ishmael cries for the innkeeper, Queequeg calms him down and explains the situation to him. Upon waking up the next morning, Ishmael is surprised to discover Queequeg snuggled next to him, with his arm draped over his shoulders. Queequeg and the tomahawk are snuggled together as he tries to get out of the way. In the end, Ishmael is able to wake him and is startled to discover Queequeg dressed up in a good hat and boots, and even shaving himself. When Queequeg appeared to be a gentleman, he startled Ishmael, who had imagined that Queequeg was an unrepentant cannibal. Ishmael is surprised to find the whaler's company subdued and reserved at breakfast, despite his expectations of more of the same from the night before. There are no tales of escapades. Only when Queequeg reached across the table with his harpoon for meat was there any excitement. Ishmael, on the other hand, was the only one to notice this. Queequeg relaxes with a tomahawk pipe after breakfast, as Ishmael sets out to investigate New Bedford. She and he are drawn to the well-dressed people. Observing how much money whale oil has brought to this modest coastal village, he soon makes his way into the chapel. Plaques honoring sailors who perished at sea can be found on the walls. If the dead have gone to a better place, why do those left behind weep for them? Ishmael asks when he reads these passages. He's surprised to discover quick at the chapel as well. The pulpit is designed like the bow of a ship, and Father Mapple climbs a rope into it. It is because he speaks their language and makes the sermons relevant to their daily life that the seafarers enjoy his talks. Jonah and the whale are the obvious subject of this discourse. Now, Ishmael is persuaded that Queequeg is, in fact, a good person. A George Washington cannibalistically developed individual, he describes him. In return, Queequeg offers Ishmael half of his land and agrees to continue sharing a bed with him after he makes a few minor polite advances to the latter. He even participates in the ceremonies Queequeg does to honor his deity. Ishmael defends his actions by stating that he hopes Queequeg would join him in his Presbyterian faith. In the middle of a frigid night, they both wake up in their comfortable beds and start talking. Queequeg recounts the events of his life. The island of Cocovoko, where Queequeg lived, was far distant to the southwest when he decided to leave. Because real places never are, it is not on any map. Queequeg was eager to join a Long Island whaling ship that visited his island. Even with the influence of his father, the king, the captain refused to acknowledge him. As a result, Queequeg stowed away, keeping his true identity a secret until the ship had set sail. Queequeg was allowed to stay with the whalers after convincing the captain that he wished to visit the Christian countries. How Queequeg became one of the best harpooners in the world was because of this. In spite of this knowledge, Queequeg cannot return to his island since he has been tainted by the influence of Christianity. In response, Queequeg promises to accompany Ishmael to Nantucket, where he hopes to get a ship for the stowaway. As a result, Ishmael is excited because he has learned a great deal about the sea through the stories of seafarers in his hometown, but he has little knowledge of whaling. Then he and Ishmael kiss each other on the forehead and go off to sleep. Ishmael pays the bill with Queequeg's money the next morning. Since Ishmael was so afraid on the first night, everyone is amazed at how quickly the two of them have become friends. For their journey to Nantucket, they borrow a wheelbarrow from a neighbor. They draw a lot of attention due at their unusual pairing. He throws Queequeg over to scold a bumpkin on the ship for making fun of him. No, the captain is furious. As a result of an unfortunate mishap, Queequeg manages to pull the bumpkin to safety and becomes the hero of the day. Ishmael is floored by Nantucket's might when they arrive. They discover a bed and breakfast run by Peter Coffin's cousin, who used to run the inn in New Bedford. It's clear to Ishmael that everything is reminiscent of the sea and the fish. Even the milk has a fishy flavor to it. Once they've eaten and slept well, they follow the suggestion of Yojo, Queequeg's idol, and let Ishmael decide on a whaling vessel. That might not have been a good idea after all. Upon awaking the following morning, they follow Ishmael to Pequod. An antique whale hunting ship with a large number of whale bits adorns it. Cannibal of a craft is how he describes it. In order to secure a favorable bargain for both himself and Queequeg, he strikes a contract with the ship's owners before boarding. Even if the proprietors are Quakers, they are sleazy money grabbers. After losing his leg to a special whale of unusual fury, Ahab, the ship's captain, will be taking Ishmael's place. Even though Captain Ahab has been acting a little strange after the accident, the owners have complete faith in him. In light of the fact that his young wife has recently given birth to their first child, they believe he will cool off. After signing the contract, Ishmael asks a few follow-up inquiries. Queequeg is fasting during Ramadan, or fasting in humiliation when Ishmael comes to the inn. When he can't rouse Queequeg from his trance, he gets worried. As much as Ishmael respects anyone's religious commitment, they had a lengthy discussion about Queequeg's religious convictions. To finalize their employment on the Pequod, they eat a substantial breakfast before heading out to sign the final paperwork. Cannibals on a ship aren't welcome, and the ship's owners aren't happy about it. When they witness Quick throw his harpoon, they alter their minds. As a last resort, they determine that sharkish harpooners are the finest. They come encounter Elijah, a prophet, who warns them of frightening events involving Ahab after they've completed their journey, but the two dismiss him as a lunatic. Ishmael witnesses men boarding the ship at daybreak one day after the ship has been stocked and Ahab has recovered from his wounds. When they board the ship, they are greeted by only one elderly seaman. As far as I know, the captain is already aboard, according to him. They set off as soon as everyone else on board arrives at sunrise. Even though they're on their way to Nantucket, Captain Ahab is still below decks. Ishmael is getting to know the rest of the crew even though he hasn't met his new captain yet. They're a varied bunch. There are a wide range of countries and personalities here. With the males, Ishmael had several conversations about whale hunting. They all seem to have varying opinions on what Ishmael considers to be the noble nature of his work. During the struggle with the whales, Ishmael gets to know the crew members of the tiny boats that are launched from the ship. Harpooners and navigators are on board every whale hunting boat. Starbuck's harpooner, Queequeg, is on the prowl. Because of his phobia of whales, Starbuck always takes precautions while on the water. Except for Ishmael, the only other white men on board are the ship's officers. Other than that, they're all from different countries. In this scene, we first meet Pip. Small and black, he played the tambourine to keep rhythm. As the ship's steward, he is expected to die at some point in the story. It's been several days at sea, and Captain Ahab finally reveals his face. When he lost a limb, he decided to replace it with a whale's bone. In addition, he is scarred all the way down his face. As his erratic demeanor and pacing reveal, the whale encounter has left him scarred both physically and psychologically. Ishmael devotes the next few chapters to a lengthy discussion on whales and their role on the planet. When it comes to mealtime, he goes into detail about the captain's table, which is designated as a reserved and quiet dining area, and the harpooners following meals there, boisterous. Finally, Ishmael has a chance to search for whales from the top of the mast. Aside from lamenting the tedium of the job, he also cautions captains against hiring young, easily bored men in case they fail to spot a whale. After a while, Ahab emerges from the shadows and addresses the crew. He affixes a gold doubloon to the masthead and tells the men that whomever discovers a certain whale will be rewarded with a precious metal. When pressed, he admits to focusing nearly solely on looking for Moby Dick. While some of the crew complain that they only want to hunt whales for the thrill of the hunt, the majority have caught the captain's fever and are eager to take on the whale. It is, according to Ishmael, because of Ahab's experience with the whale that he has become so fixated. He attributes this need for vengeance to the time he spent in a feverish state of mind. Ahab believes the giant white whale to be the devil, but Ishmael believes the whale resembles an angel. He perceives the whiteness as a sign of aristocracy. Some members of the crew begin to hear noises from below, which they believe are coming from an unidentified passenger at this point in the story. As Ahab continues to search for Moby Dick, he conceals this information from his crew. Screaming in fits of wrath alternates with his attempts to coax and encourage the guys under his care. After a long period of inactivity, a whale is finally spotted. The mysterious passenger is shown to be 5 men dressed in dark, menacing attire. When the captain's harpoon boat is attacked, these men get aboard and join the other vessels in combat. Ishmael decides to alter his will after a harrowing attempt to knock down a pod of whales goes horribly wrong. He's come to terms with the fact that a career in this perilous field isn't for him. Other ships are encountered by the Pequod as it pursues its prey. Only ships with information on Moby Dick are the ones Ahab wants to talk to. Not stopping to speak to other ships is unusual, as is the captain's participation in a harpoon boat. When Queequeg spots a large squid, he knows that a whale is close because whales are known to devour squids. Harpooners attack the whale, which results in an exciting showdown. Sharks will consume the remainder of it because only one crew member wants to eat it. In the story, Ishmael describes the process of preparing whale meat. During the night, the men protect the whale from being devoured by sharks, saving the portions that will be sold the following day by the crew's crew. Recovering the blubber and oil is described in great detail. Whale meat is then thrown out to sea, where sharks and vultures can feast on it. Captain Ahab is delighted to discover a ship carrying information about Moby Dick. Aboard Jeroboam, despite their quarantine because of an illness on board, the crew recounts their encounter with Moby Dick. A crew member on their ship, Gabriel, who claims to be a prophet, tells Ahab to put down his weapons and abandon his search for the whale, which Ahab does. This particular crew member was dragged from the ship by Moby Dick and brought out to sea, and he narrates the narrative of that experience. Ahab, of course, ignores the man's warning and goes on with his mission. Queequeg dives in and rescues one of the men who nearly drowns during the process of extracting oil from a whale. The gallantry of Queequeg is once again demonstrated by the narrator. The following are chapters that describe the whale in great detail in poetic prose. Despite the fact that other ships have come into contact with Moby Dick, no one has any information. Little Pip, filling in as a replacement oarsman on one of the harpoon boats, once lost his courage and fell into the sea while attempting to bring down a whale. They thought it would be a good idea to pretend to abandon him for a short time in the ocean as a teaching tool. Pip became enraged as a result of this. Ishmael feels that Pip now has supernatural understanding and Ahab treats him with utmost care. Captain Henry's gold doubloons are at the heart of the tale. At the start of the voyage, Ahab was attached to the mast. The image on the gold coin's front changes depending on who is gazing at it. Various interpretations have been given to this object. According to Queequeg, it's a match for an inking he has on his lower thigh. The Samuel Ederby and the Pequod will soon meet. The ship's crew and captain are a hoot to be around. When Ahab asks Captain Boomer if he's heard of Moby Dick, Boomer responds positively. He suffered an arm injury as a result of the confrontation. Captain Boomer was aware of the whale's presence whenever they ran into each other again. Since then, he had learned his lesson and was no longer enraged by Ahab's desire for retribution. The ship's carpenter is next in the author's sights. A new limb is on the wish list of Ahab. Queequeg wants a casket, and the oil casks underneath need to be fixed. Because of his illness, he has the carpenter build him a casket. Puts his idol and spear inside, then lies down and closes the lid to prepare for death. But now that he's feeling better, he utilizes the casket as a place to keep his belongings. The casket's lid has tattoos that he carved onto it. Next up, the blacksmith. Ahab provides him with metal so that he might make a spear to kill Moby Dick with. The blacksmith, on the other hand, is too sluggish for Ahab, so he completes the work himself. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for more content like this. See you in next video.